I'm Jessie Heredia, and you're listening to Mom Empowered, where I help moms ditch their anger, break free from anxiety, and create the life they've always wanted. This show is for the mom who's ready to become more free and empowered. Hey ladies, I am so excited to share an anecdote from this past week with you guys today because I believe there is a very, very valuable lesson in here for us all. Definitely one that's made me think, and something I want to share with any mom who may be quick to label or judge herself. So, as some of you know, my two eldest girls, Tessa and James, attend a morning preschool program, which they love. They love their teachers, they love playing with their friends, they love telling me all about what they're learning. And my 2-year-old Jamie, she's not quite there in terms of communicating everything about her class. But Tessa, my 4-year-old, she can just talk your ear off all day long about it. She's at the point where the whole car ride home, she just wants to tell me all about what they learned, and she tells me about her friends and what they did on the playground and the stories they read. And this last week, she shared something with me that I thought was a little funny at the time. And then later, I ended up discovering, wow, this actually was a really powerful teaching moment for her. And it ended up being a powerful teaching moment for me. So I wanted to share it with you guys today. It's something that I think we all could learn from. So she was telling me about her friends, and she was going through her whole class list and talking about who she loves to play with and who she's getting along with. And I noticed that she left a girl's name off of that list, even though I remember her talking about this girl like a couple of months ago. So, I thought that was odd. And so I asked her, honey, hey, what about Mary Grace? Don't you play with Mary Grace anymore? And Tessa said to me, well, Mary Grace is mean. She doesn't share with me. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't always have these super wise, just awesome parenting, smart responses just sitting in my pocket. I really don't. So when she said this to me, oh, Mary Grace is mean, she doesn't share, I really didn't know what to say. A part of me wanted to sympathize with her and just, say, oh, I'm so sorry, honey. And then another part of me wanted to tell her, hey, we probably shouldn't be calling people mean. That's not very nice. We shouldn't be going around saying that people are mean. And so I ended up saying to her just something of a variation of that, where I just explained to her, well, hun, it's not that Mary Grace is mean. She's not mean. She's just still learning how to share. And of course, because I'm the mommy and Tessa, she still is thankfully in that stage where she takes everything I say at face value and never questions it. She just says, oh, okay. And then we carried on with our morning. We got home, we had lunch, and the day just kept going on. I didn't think about that conversation for the whole rest of the day until we were sitting at the kitchen table later, and Jamie, her little sister, was having trouble scooping her food with her spoon. Or she was doing something that was creating a mess all over the table. And I was hearing Jamie start to get frustrated. She was, going like, ugh, like, she was getting mad that she couldn't scoop the food. And in this moment, as I was in the other room, I hear Tessa say to Jamie, that's okay, Jamie. You can make a mess. You're still learning. And it occurred to me that our conversation from earlier had a bigger influence on Tessa than I even realized. And because here she was communicating with compassion, and she was using the same language of, you're still learning. You're not mean. You're not, just a mess. You're still learning. And this got me thinking about how many different things this idea can apply to. This idea that we don't have to label ourselves or label others or be identified by our mistakes or by our struggles, when we can just keep in mind that in many ways we're just still learning. There's just some room for growth. We're still learning. There's room for grace. And I don't know how you ladies might be labeling yourselves today. But what if you were to offer yourself the same compassion? What if by using this language, you could actually not only see yourself as something different, but actually even become different. There was once a time where I thought I was honestly the most laziest person. I know that that might be really surprising to some of you guys if you've been watching my journey these past couple of years, but truly, when I was a young adult, especially in college, I thought I was the laziest person in the world. I did spend entire days shrugging off my responsibilities, not studying, not doing homework, not cleaning, not folding laundry. I didn't want to go to work, nothing. I just wanted to spend the whole day checking out, binge watching Netflix, scrolling social media, and I'm not just talking about like a part of the day, like literally from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., nothing but Grey's Anatomy or Gilmore Girls. That was where I was at that time. And I remember after I got married and we got pregnant, I remember thinking to myself, oh man, like I can't wait to do all these things with my baby girl. I'm going to be an awesome stay-at-home mom. I'm going to be an amazing housewife. And what ended up happening is that I was still doing the same exact things. I was not cleaning, not cooking, not wanting to lift a finger. I hardly wanted to do anything really with my daughter, even, except, keep her alive or keep her pacified long enough so I could keep watching my shows or keep doing what I wanted to do. And I remember so many times saying to my husband, Grant, what is wrong with me? Like I remember just feeling like so down about myself. I would ask him like am I just a terrible person? Am I just super flawed? Like everyone else around me has this great work ethic, but I can't stop feeling so lazy, like something is broken. I can't even will myself to do the bare minimum here. And I loathe this about me. Like, I remember just having those conversations that I truly loathed this about me. But then, when my baby girl, my Tessa, she was, I guess, about 6 months old, I started feeling this nudge to start something. I had been a blogger before becoming a mom, but then I gave up writing when I got pregnant because I wanted to just focus on being a mom. But now, as Tessa was a little bit older, we were 6 months in, I started to feel this pull toward writing again. And not just writing, but I felt this pull toward podcasting, which was something that was pretty new to me. It was something I hadn't discovered until I was a mom and I was, up in the middle of the night doing these feedings and I needed something to do. So I had this idea to start my own podcast for moms, and I sat on this idea for a while. It was a couple of months, and the reason why I sat on it is because I kept thinking like, if I can't even show up for myself to just get the simplest things done, if I can't even show up for my kid and just be a present, not checked out mom, why would I bother doing this? Like it would just lead me down the road of even more procrastination, of even being even more checked out from my current life. And I was so scared of what might happen if I were to actually pursue this. But eventually, as you guys know, I did end up launching it. I launched the Soul Care for the New Mom podcast, which has since become the Mom Empowered podcast. And here's the part that is the most astounding that I'm still so blown away by. When I started this podcast years ago, I think we're coming up on 4 years maybe this year, I went from being lazy to all of a sudden being so productive. I went from wanting to check out of my life to wanting to be fully engaged and present in my life. I went from hardly putting in effort, hardly, wanting to work hard to actually getting things done, and not just in this, but in all areas. I was on top of chores. I was coming up with new fun things to cook. I was meal prepping during the day. I was doing fun and creative things with Tessa. I was using nap time to work on content. I wasn't even spending hours scrolling on social media anymore. I wasn't binge watching shows all day long. For the first time in a long time, I didn't see myself as this awful, lazy person anymore. I saw someone who was capable and hardworking, and someone who wasn't afraid to show up. And shortly after this is when I discovered the Enneagram, and I learned, oh, I'm actually an Enneagram 4. That was when everything finally clicked for me. I learned that a lot of Enneagram 4s tend to struggle with laziness. They struggle with self-indulgence. That was me. Hello, that was me. But the other thing about Enneagram 4s, one of the best parts about Enneagram 4s, is that when they feel a sense of purpose, when they're using their giftings and their creativity to do something, they truly can become some of the hardest workers. And it turns out that I wasn't lazy after all. I was just still learning what it means to be the best version of myself. And I haven't seen myself as lazy in several years. In fact, last year I really did, I blew myself away with all that I accomplished. Things that I would have once thought were either highly unlikely or just downright impossible. I showed up for my business and my two toddlers, two kids who were little, while navigating and also grieving an unplanned pregnancy. I took up running for the very first time, and I even ran all the way up until 37 weeks pregnant, which was probably not advisable, but I did it. I felt so good doing it. I coached women morning, afternoon, and night up until my maternity leave, and right after celebrating my first 10K month in my business. That's huge. The fact that I even built something that could be that successful. And at 9 months pregnant, and if you guys have been around for a minute, then you saw me do this. You probably were thinking, what on earth is she doing? But at 9 months pregnant, we sold our home, moved in with my parents, bought our new home, our dream home, and moved into that house the week after my due date. The week after my due date, y'all. At 42 weeks pregnant, finally, this girl, she made us wait a whole full 2 weeks to meet her. But finally, at 42 weeks pregnant, our third daughter, Josie, was born at home in our new home, and it was the most empowering and incredible experience. And I'm sharing this because what enabled me to be the woman who could do all of those things and more was that I had shed my label. I had shed so many labels I had carried: lazy, weak, too tired, selfish. I had spent years shedding those labels so that I could be the woman I always wanted to be, the woman that I was always meant to be, who God created me to be. And this Jessie I am today, that is the same Jessie I was 5 years ago. It's just that Jessie back then was still learning some stuff. She was just on a journey. She was still in progress. And I don't know what labels you might be carrying around today, but what if, just like how Mary Grace isn't mean, but is just still learning how to share, what if you aren't what you think you are, but you're just still learning something? What if you're not the angry mom? You're just still learning how to manage your emotions. You're still learning how to let go of control and deal with your anxiety. What if you're not a failure? What if you're just still learning what it takes to be successful, or you're still learning what best motivates you, like me, or you're learning how to work with the way that you're wired? What if you're not a bad Christian? I don't think that there is any such thing, but if you're thinking that you are, what if the truth is that you're not a bad Christian, but you're actually just still learning how to love and be loved by your Heavenly Father? What if you're still learning how to develop the fruits of the Spirit in you and learning how to say no to temptation? And ladies, what if you and I were to just go ahead and accept that we are most likely always more than we think we are? And what if we were to commit to stop confusing our identity with where we are in our progress? I really do hope that you will allow yourself to offer yourself more compassion today, that you will allow yourself to receive the grace that is already being given to you. I hope that you will change the narrative, and that in doing so, you will become even more of the woman you were made to be, which is the woman that you've been all along. You just didn't know it. I also hope that you'll be able to model these truths to your kids, so that they'll grow up knowing that they're never bad or dumb or incapable. They're just still learning. We're all just still learning. So this is the lesson I want you to take away from today's story. And if you are ready, I am also the coach who can help you learn these things even faster. I can help you shed any label that's been holding you back, and I can give you the tools you need to step into transformation and freedom, because I want to see you become an empowered mom. I want to see you become even more than what you think is possible. There are still spots open in my Mom Empowered coaching program. If you are ready, you can visit jessieheredia.com/coaching to learn more and apply for a free call. All right, I love you, ladies. That's what I've got for you guys today. If you enjoyed this, please share with your friends. If it encouraged you, please let me know. I would love to chat about it, and we will chat again next week.